Prudentia Tech S maneuver BrahMos missiles. Let's have a look.
In December 1971, during the Indo-Pakistan War, the United States sent Task Force 74 to attack India. The Task Force 74 was led by U.S. aircraft carrier USS Enterprise, accompanied by 3 guided missile destroyers, 4 gun destroyers, and an amphibious assault carrier USS Tripoli, carrying a 200-strong Marine battalion and 25 assault helicopters. The US sent the task force to stop the Indian Army from overrunning East Pakistan, which was administered by US ally West Pakistan, almost 2,000 kilometers away. The Indian aircraft carrier INS Vikrant and its accompanying warships was delegated to stop the American task force. But the US task force abruptly turned back and fled when they detected Soviet nuclear submarines and destroyers in the area. If not for the Soviet Union, India would have fumbled.
Okay, so a little bit of a history for my Western audiences. This is very not that well known in Western spheres. During the drawdown of the Vietnam conflict, and then around the same time, well, no, not around the same time, much later actually, but around the heat of the Cold War, basically. Uh, there's many bad things happening in Bangladesh, East Pakistan, and there's an attempt to get international attention to it, but it failed. And then India decided we had no choice after being attacked. We had to go in. Now, at the time, due to allegiances, US decided to threaten India and send a naval fleet. Now, this is 1971. India is a very strong land force by 1971, but it isn't that strong in air and sea. Definitely not up up to the American military. Luckily enough, we had at that time a deal with the Soviets where more or less they would come defend us, and that ended up happening. That worked. Now, that is over here being used as context for, I believe, the BrahMos missile. I believe that's being used because up till now, there's nothing directly referencing the BrahMos missile. This story is from the 1970s, and the BrahMos missile is from the mid 2000s, early to mid 2000s.
But today, the Indian military has the BrahMos missile, which can take out any aircraft carrier or task force. The BrahMos is the world's fastest cruise missile. Basically an anti-ship missile, it has been adapted to be used as a land-based and even an air-launched missile. The missile is unstoppable as it travels at supersonic speeds for its complete duration and can execute an evasive maneuver called the S maneuver to avoid close-in weapon systems and other defense mechanisms. But what is the S maneuver and what makes the BrahMos missile unstoppable?
I will say that the missile is being projected over here as being very much as a weapon developed to combat US Navy. While there is historical precedent for that, that's not, at the moment, that is not the main target or any as such near future kind of target for the BrahMos. It's more I believe, the Chinese Navy. And the missile's really good at what it does. It is quite heavy. It's much more heavier than other missiles. Like, for example, the Tomahawk. It has a lesser range than the Tomahawk, but it carries a lot more in terms of, well, it's one of the fastest or the fastest cruise missile. And also the kinetic energy, like just forgetting the weapon, like the warhead in it, the kinetic energy itself is enough to cut a ship in half. Let's see, what is this S maneuver?
BrahMos missile is jointly developed by Russia and India. It's based on P-800 Onyx, which is an anti-ship supersonic cruise missile. The BrahMos is big. It has a length of 8.4 meters, a diameter of 0.6 meters, and a weight of 3,000 kgs or 3 tons. It has two stages, with the first stage being solid fueled and the second stage liquid fueled. The BrahMos has a range of 290 kilometers and can travel at supersonic speed of Mach 3 for the entire duration of its flight. The BrahMos uses ramjet technology for its supersonic flight. The BrahMos missile first starts with a normal jet propulsion. When it reaches supersonic speed, the ramjet takes over. The ramjet has no moving parts. The high pressure entering the nozzle is compressed and later heated by combustion. This superheated air passes through a nozzle and accelerates the missile to higher supersonic speeds. The BrahMos is basically designed to take out strategic targets like aircraft carriers, ground-based fixed installations such as radars, command centers, air bases, enemy missile batteries, etc. It carries a 300 kg warhead.
I will say, as far as I know, the BrahMos has ability to kind of throttle its thrust. I'm not sure as for the details of it, but it doesn't fly exactly at Mach 3 the entire duration.
The Americans have developed advanced radar systems to detect any anti-ship missile from over 100 kilometers of distance. So any anti-ship missile detected can be taken out using air-to-air missiles fired from fighter jets or by missiles fired from the warships. If any anti-ship missile manages to evade all missile defenses, then there is still a last obstacle, the Close-in Weapon System or CIWS. The CIWS is an automated radar-controlled gun system. It can fire 4,500 bullets in 1 minute, the highest in the world. It's the last line of defense and is completely automatic, meaning the inbuilt radar will detect and track the target. But the close-in weapon system has a weakness. The CIWS radar can be jammed using sophisticated electronic jammers. This will prevent it from effective tracking of incoming missiles. But there are multiple CIWS in a single warship. The second weakness of the CIWS is a swarm attack.
Before we go into the swarm attack, I'd say the jamming wouldn't be a thing considering the range of the BrahMos missile. Originally, it was capped at 290 kilometers, which is in line with the MTCR missile technology control regime. It is basically like a nuclear non-polar, what is this? Non-proliferate. Oof. Damn. Okay, I can't say that word clearly for some reason. The NPT. That's the short for. Basically, a rule saying more than which countries already have the nukes, more countries can't have it. Similarly, there's a cap on cruise missile technology, meaning whoever's part of this grouping can have cruise missiles which are more than 300 kilometers in range. And we developed it with Russia. India developed it with Russia before that we were part of that group. So at that time it was 290 kilometers. Now we have been accepted as part of the group. So the missile's range is now already been updated to 800 kilometers, and apparently there's more space to increase range further. Now that would make jamming the CEOs very difficult. Very, very difficult. The missile doesn't do much jamming, if any. And to have any support asset nearby to, not really, that's not happening. But it is more likely that the missile is just seen and detected so late and it flies so fast that the CVS doesn't have enough time to, shoot its 4,500 rounds per minute at the missile.
If multiple missiles are launched simultaneously and well spaced out, then the CIWS radar will be saturated and one of the missiles will go through. The third weakness is a
Now, about the second in the swarm attack, so called, it was, I would say it would be like more accurate to have it be a salvo attack. And even then, generally, the way the Indian usage of the BrahMos missile goes is each destroyer has only about 16 of these missiles, whereas a normal American Ticonderoga cruiser or Alibug destroyer, they have 100 VLS, so that they could at least carry like 30, 40, 50 Tomahawks, which is, a cruise missile as well, similar class, similar category of weapon system. But now the BrahMos, only 16 are carried because it's 3 tons, where a Tomahawk is about 1.5 tons in weight. The BrahMos is much bigger in size, so you can't carry a lot of them. Now, the BrahMos is also much more expensive than a normal subsonic under Mach 1 cruise missile. Because of the technology that goes in making a Mach 3 cruise missile, the BrahMos isn't really something you would use more than twice or thrice on something like an Alibok class destroyer. Usually you'd hope to get it in like 1 or 2 missile shots. The salvo firing is for a fleet or for targeting an aircraft carrier which is defended by a fleet. So can't exactly do swarm, but maybe that's just, creative choice of words, which is fine.
The maneuverability. A low-flying missile traveling at supersonic speeds and is able to make abrupt maneuvers will bypass a CIWS defense system. So the Russians developed anti-ship cruise missiles exactly to cater to the weakness of the defense systems of the Western warships. That was the BrahMos. The BrahMos missile will travel at very low altitude or sea-skim at supersonic speeds. Due to the curvature of the Earth, the ship will not be able to detect the low-flying supersonic missile. Only an AVAC flying in air can detect such a missile in advance. The warship by itself can detect the missile only at a 30 kilometers distance, giving the ship.
This is highly exaggerated, but I believe it's a good thing that it got exaggerated because you can tell very easily how somebody looking front from the ship or like a radar looking to the front of the ship just can't see something that's technically below the ship, kind of. So that is what the sea skimming or like flying just above the surface of the ocean will help in terms of benefiting the missile and the person who's firing the missile. And also, that leaves the defending ship with 30 seconds, very less time. It is kind of just about enough time for automated computer systems to react, like the missile defense, the CVIS, those things to react, but it's a bit too fast for humans to react. Let's say those systems are switched off. Seeing something and acting on time and having the computer enabled to fire in response, that is what will be crucial in that scenario.
Ship only a 30-second window to respond. The warship will now engage the close-in weapon systems to stop the missile. Now the BrahMos missile, using its thrusters, will execute an evasive maneuver called the S maneuver, as shown in the animation, which will give very little reactive time for the CIWS bullets to hit the supersonic missile.
Again, heavily exaggerated, but makes a lot of sense. Why? Because it's difficult to understand that if you saw an actual missile doing that, because you won't realize it's very much not exaggerated. It's the reverse of that. So yeah, it'll kind of the S-shaped maneuver will kind of help throw off the CVIS and not have them get an easy target to land all their rounds on.
If multiple BrahMos missiles is launched against the same ship, then the chance of the ship defending itself will be very low. Due
True.
to the supersonic speed, the energy of impact of the BrahMos missile will be more than the explosion of its 300 kg warhead. The BrahMos missile is able to maneuver at high speeds using thrust vectoring. Thrust vectoring nozzle is a key component. It's a nozzle that can be adjusted to deflect the exhaust flow of the missile's engines. It can move in different directions, allowing the missile to maneuver in flight. Pitch control is achieved by moving the nozzle up and down, helping the missile change its vertical trajectory. Yaw control is achieved by moving the nozzle left and right, allowing for changes in horizontal direction.
Okay, I will say yes, the BrahMos missile does have.
This thrust vector
I will say the BrahMos missile does have thrust vectoring, but the visuals are not like it's not like that of a jet engine. It's more the fins at the back, which move to direct the airflow around the missile, also extend inwards in the missile. So when they flip or like turn a bit to direct airflow, let's say left or right, they're also directing the exhaust airflow left or right. Slightly different thrust vectoring technology or way of doing it than a jet engine, but achieves very similar results.
at high speeds help the BrahMos to make the S maneuver. The combination of its supersonic speed, sea skimming ability, and the S maneuver makes the BrahMos unstoppable.
Almost. Yeah. Almost unstoppable, I'm sure. I think I know there's things that can stop the BrahMos missile. And it's not an invincible missile, but it is pretty damn close to it. So yeah, that's cool.